नितिन गडकरी जी, ये देखिए गन्ने का रस और पेट्रोल।
कि इथेनॉल क्या होता है कि कुछ दिन में पानी बन जाता है और फ्यूल पंप को खराब करने लगता है।
These are the videos that have been circulating on social media.
एथेनॉल वाला तेल डलवाइएगा, तेल की जगह दूध निकलेगा और पानी।
इसका जो E20 पेट्रोल जो डल रहा है इसके अंदर, उसके चक्कर में बाइक मिसिंग मार रही है।
अच्छा,
पिकअप में दिक्कत आती है, बीच में गाड़ी झटके मारती है।
E20
People complaining about issues in their vehicles after using E20 petrol. So how did we get here? Every time tensions rise in West Asia, India feels the impact. A war, a blockade, missile strikes, uncertainty in oil routes, and suddenly fuel prices become a national concern. India imports 85% of crude oil it consumes. So when oil producing regions become unstable, India ends up paying more. That's why over the last 2 decades, India has been preparing a different strategy. Not to stop using petrol, but to replace a part of petrol with something produced at home. That fuel is ethanol.
पर 22 लाख करोड़ का देश का इंपोर्ट है। अब ये इंपोर्ट कम करने का जो हमने संकल्प किया था, धीरे धीरे गैस भी देश में पैदा होगा कि 100% इथेनॉल, इसके नियम बनकर उसको आज कानूनी रूप से प्रक्रिया देने वाले फाइल पर मैंने साइन की है।
Today, India has moved towards E20 fuel, which is petrol containing 20% ethanol. The goal is to reduce oil dependence on other countries, save foreign exchange, support agriculture, and improve energy security. But does the story end here? Or does cheaper fuel come with hidden trade-offs? To understand those trade-offs, why ethanol blending is being pushed aggressively, what its environmental implications are, and what this measure looks like in the long run, I spoke to Himanshu Jaiswal, a consultant at CSEP, Center for Social and Economic Progress.
So ethanol blending program started in 2003, and then there were several policy interventions in the last decade. Factor behind aggressiveness of the government is because of several reasons. First is foremost is to reduce the import dependence and build some energy resilience and security. So that is the foremost reason. Second is also the environmental concerns are there. Like if crude or fossil fuel is replaced by the ethanol, there will be less emission. And third is there'll be also another stream of income for farming community, farmers basically, and cane industry and cane or sugar industry as well.
Supporters of ethanol blending point to 4 major benefits. First, less dependence on imported crude oil. When even a portion of petrol is replaced with ethanol, India sends fewer dollars overseas. Second, support for agriculture. Ethanol creates demand for sugarcane, molasses, maize, and other feedstocks. Third, lower emissions from transport. Because ethanol contains oxygen, it helps fuel burn cleaner than regular petrol, reducing some pollution from vehicles. And fourth, strategic resilience. When oil markets become unstable, countries with domestic fuel alternatives become less exposed to external shocks.
There are some reports which say that during 2014 to 2024, there was some replacement of around 190 lakh metric tons of crude, which translated into 4.5 crore barrels of crude, which is nearly 3% of crude import bill. But when we see this is a very, very, very tiny figure, very, very non-significant figure. But at the same time, we should also be concerned. We should also be aware that blending program has gained momentum in recent years, like for 5 years. So we cannot say that blending programs will not be successful in terms of reducing import dependence. Well, it can be, but question should be whether it should not be taken as a choice of substitution. Like since we are taking ethanol, so entire consignment of petrol or crude will be going down. It should be taken as an alternative. We should take it as an alternative. Like there is a petrol as well, there is an EV, there is a hydrogen, there is ethanol blended program, there is E20, E50, E85, everything is there. So there are a lot of choices. So that will actually help in India gaining its decarbonization goals of net zero by 2070.
If ethanol has so many benefits, then why are people opposing it? The opposition isn't really about ethanol itself. The debate is mostly about how quickly it is being introduced and who ultimately bears the cost. Vehicle owners generally raise three concerns. First, fuel economy. Ethanol carries less energy per liter than petrol, meaning that it can reduce the mileage of your vehicle. Second, vehicle compatibility. Many newer vehicles are designed to handle E20 fuel. But what about the owners of older vehicles? They worry about fuel lines, seals, storage behavior, corrosion, and long term maintenance issues. Third, consumer choice. Why are consumers not given the option of buying unblended petrol? People with older vehicles that may not be fully ethanol compatible argue that they should have the freedom to choose. So, do you think our vehicles are compatible, and how much will it affect the manufacturer and the consumer?
Majority of fleet on the Indian roads as of now are not blended fuel compliant. So what happens? Ethanol captures moisture. So when ethanol blended petrol goes into the engine, it causes corrosion in the metals of the internal engines. So that's the one reason there is a mileage is goes down. So another thing is the energy density. 1 liter or one amount of ethanol blended, suppose E20, it supposes 7% less energy than the 1 liter of same amount of petrol. So if we increase the proportion of ethanol in the petrol, this loss of energy may go up to 30%. So in that case, there will be some trade-offs. There are no doubt. But now the companies are coming with the modified engines, right? So even they are coming with the modified engines, there are some challenges like recently Wagonar flex fuel vehicle. It's a flex fuel version of Wagonar has come out in the market.
और मुझे बताते खुशी हो रही कि मारुति सुजुकी ने वैगनार करके जो सबसे बेचने वाली उनकी गाड़ी है वो 100% इथेनॉल पर मुझे और पुरी साहब को लॉन्च करने का मौका मिला। जो मोटरसाइकिल है हीरो कंपनी, 5 में से 3 मोटरसाइकिल उनकी है, उनकी 2 मोटरसाइकिल 100% इथेनॉल पर फ्लेक्स लॉन्च हुई है।
Flex fuel vehicle is a vehicle which has an engine that can operate on any kind of blended fuel. I mean, it can run on E20, it can run on E85, it can run on E50, it also can run on E100. It's more costly, around 85,000 rupees than the existing version. The reason behind this is that there we need certain equipments for modification of engine, like fuel sensors and anti-corrosion equipments. So that's the challenge the consumers will face. So it would be early to say whether consumers will face loss or gain. But yes, in short term, they may face loss because they are not ready. The ecosystem is not ready for ethanol blending program, ethanol blended fuels actually.
But the debate is not just about vehicle performance. It is also about agriculture and the environment. Supporters argue that ethanol creates income for farmers. More and more farmers can grow sugarcane, which is required to produce ethanol.
For farming community, they may gain in terms of additional income streams. Sugarcane industry may gain in terms of cash flow. So there is huge waste in agriculture. So after harvesting, there is a lot of wastage in the agricultural produces. So this can be used for ethanol production, that is agricultural residue, instead of so government should start some policy programs which can incentivize, which can give farmers some kind of bonus or whatever, so that the farmers can sell these residue directly to the distillers, and distiller can make ethanol from agricultural residues and biomass. So this is called 2G, second generation of ethanol production. So that can be thought of.
But it comes with some challenges as well.
Environmental impacts are real. So apart from soil health, apart from there might be change in the land use patterns as well. Since India produces so much variety of agriculture produce like pulses, oil seeds. So suppose there is a program that says incentivizes or says that we need more ethanol. For that we need more sugarcane or maize. So farmers may attract towards growing more sugarcane. So there will be change in the land use pattern. There will be less pulses. So again, India has to depend on some other countries like Africa and Australia to import pulses. So it's like a switching from one set of vulnerability to another set of vulnerability. So we have to be careful in that policy design actually. And there are environmental impacts. For that, sustainable practices should be there.
And what are those environmental concerns?
So environmental concerns firstly is related to water scarcity. So ethanol production is in India or any other country, it is based on sugarcane, cane based or grain based. Grain means maize and rice. So in India, it is from broken rice from FCI godowns. So so cane is a very water guzzling commodity crop. For producing 1 liter of ethanol, it takes around 3,000 liter of water. So for rice, it may be more. So that is the one reason that it's not environmentally sustainable. So like states like Maharashtra or Western UP, they are producing more and more sugarcane for maybe for ethanol production. So there will be much and much pressure on soil health and water resources. Ethanol production from Maharashtra, which is a water-stressed region, is a different proposition than ethanol production from agricultural residue from a water-abundant state like Bihar, maybe Assam, maybe. So both are different propositions. So is regional imbalances across India in terms of states. So one state might be more might get benefit, another might get loss.
We are moving towards ethanol blended petrol in the hope of creating a cleaner fuel and a more sustainable future. But can one environmental solution create another environmental problem? The question is about the amount of water needed to produce ethanol. To produce 1 liter of ethanol, a newly set up factory, remember, a newly set up factory typically uses only about 4 to 5 liters of water during processing. Older factories can use more water up to 10 liters. However, before the sugarcane even reaches the factory, growing enough sugarcane to produce that 1 liter of ethanol requires roughly 2,000 to 3,000 liters of water through rainfall and irrigation. In simple words, if you have 20 liters of bucket in your house, you will need 100 to 200 buckets of water to produce just 1 liter of ethanol. And it's not just about water and agriculture. There is also the question of emissions and pollution from ethanol production itself. Niti Aayog reports that 20% ethanol blending can reduce carbon monoxide emissions by around 30% in four-wheelers and 50% in two-wheelers, which is certainly a positive outcome. But ethanol production has its own environmental footprint. Ethanol plants fall under the red category of industries, which includes sectors considered to have a high pollution potential. The red category is assigned to industries with significant environmental risk and pollution scores above 60. These industries are subject to strict monitoring and are generally restricted from operating in ecologically sensitive or protected areas. Critics argue that emissions and waste from ethanol factories can contribute to air, water, and soil pollution, potentially creating environmental and public health concerns. Environmentalists point out that while biofuel blends like E20 may reduce emissions from vehicles, ethanol production itself can be highly polluting if not managed properly. Now let's look at the economics from the perspective of an ordinary citizen. Ethanol blended petrol may be cheaper, but will the money saved on fuel end up being spent on repairs and maintenance if long-term use affects vehicles? Can there be a way?
If their engine is E20 compliant, they may gain in the long term because they will save in terms of fuel prices.
Fuel prices, but then average is again an issue. So you'll need to consume. I mean, you'll need to have more fuel.
Yeah,
than
because it's producing less energy. You also need to purchase more fuel. Right. So it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off again, whether you want a cleaner fuel versus you want a cheaper fuel versus you want more savings.
Is this really a move that will make India self-sufficient in fuel? And if so, to what extent? India imports more than 85% of its crude oil requirement. That means even small reductions in imports can have a significant impact. But critics respond that calculation should not stop at crude oil savings. It should also account for water consumption, agricultural impacts, government subsidies, infrastructure investments, and long-term transition costs.
Ethanol blending is not a silver bullet. Not it's a program that should be abandoned. It's a transitional strategy. It's a transitional strategy to attain higher cleaner fuel technology for India. So we should be taking it as an alternative, and we should be taking it as a transitory phase.
So is ethanol blending doing more harm than good? Maybe the real question isn't should India use ethanol or not. The real question is how much ethanol should India use and at what cost?
So it's a good and welcome step in that direction, but there are some caveats, some trade-offs that these policies should be designed with care. So it will depend on how India produces ethanol sustainably.
Future of fuel is not only about what powers our vehicles, it's also about what powers the country and its people. Comment down if you have faced any issues in your vehicles due to E20 Petrol or if you think it was a good move by the government. If you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are working on a mega project called Mapping India, where we are covering every Indian state and union territory. So far, we have covered more than 20 states and brought you documentaries, in-depth reports and video stories, all from the ground. Do check out the Mapping India playlist and get to know your country a little better from the inside.